Matt, thank you so much for spending some time with me today and flying over from the US. You're here at a European conference. What have you been learning that is of specific importance that you can take back home?
Yeah, well, quite a few things actually, Paul. The first thing I think everyone realizes, but it really hit home, that the world is much smaller than it used to be. One of the things, hearing almost all of the speakers talk about their challenges, very similar to what we're seeing in the U.S., which shouldn't be surprising, right? I mean, lowering costs of care, improving quality is everyone's goal. Diseases, exhibit themselves the same, really. No matter where you are. But I thought there'd be more difference in how things were actually being implemented based on a single payer system. And other than the single payer itself, the downstream effects are very similar to what we're seeing in the U.S. A move to population health versus individual patient management. One of the things we're going to need to learn more around is actually how we use comparative effectiveness. You guys are much more advanced in Europe than we are, but our stakeholders, both the payers and providers, are asking for it. So.
Okay. So moving ahead from here, should pharma companies be trying to become healthcare providers?
So great question. I think that there's a role there. Just the question is where does that role begin and end? I think part of what we have to do is and again, I'll speak at least for the U.S. and the expertise I have there. We need to improve our partnership ability and our reputation with our customers, and part of that is evolving the model, which, as you know, is one of the things I'm really working on. I think we have to get away from promoting and pushing our product to actually being very open and transparent about where it actually works: right drug, right patient, right time, and knowing that that's what customers want us to see and hear. But I do think there are also other intellectual capabilities we have around the disease areas and the products that we have that we could bring to our customers as well to help them with that. I think we also need to think about other partners too. We see this in the U.S., but Pfizer particularly, I think, because we're very large, like to try to do everything ourselves. We can't, we won't have the solutions that everyone needs. We've got to create I think, an opportunity to bring in other third-party partners, one or many sometimes, to actually provide a better, and broader solution for a customer. So.
Well, I know you've been working on some interesting projects with the sales force, and particularly the account management side of things. It sounds like the expectations of your account managers are quite a long way away from what we would consider the traditional sales rep skills. You mentioned, for example, educating customers.
Right.
What is it that you're actually looking for in your staff as you go into this new era?
Yeah, it's a good question, and we've seen some evolution in that. But ideally, where our end goal is that we would actually have an account manager that was really leading all the resourcing we're doing around the customer. So we've actually piloted now from our CAM group. We actually have what we call an enterprise account manager now. So someone who actually represents the entire portfolio of Pfizer and is also looking at how we're resourcing and actually working with that customer. So it's not just interacting with the customer, but starting to understand how many representatives do we need, what should those representatives be selling, what's the messaging based on the customer's needs, and hopefully an aligned message we've actually built with the customer. Also other resources, copay card samples, if the customer has a payer component, how we're going to contract and what the rebates may be. So we can look at the overall resourcing against the customer, and you have one person that's actually almost like managing a country, but now you're managing a customer instead. And it's moving from being brand-centric to customer-centric and fitting the brands in.
Well, that sounds like a pretty big job. Is that person expected to be customer-facing themselves? Because traditionally someone with that sort of responsibility would be at HQ level. It
is a big job, and in fact we've really seen it elevate some of our current CAM roles, and they are customer-facing, but more at the we call it the C-suite, but sometimes it may be lower than that. But it's more for the enterprise approach, and then the idea is they'll have a team of people to bring in based on what the opportunity is. In fact, what we looked at is a couple of external pharma models, the consulting model and the technology model, where you've got someone who actually knows and has the relationships at the highest level with the customer, and then if they need laptops, I bring the laptop person in. If they need servers, I bring the server person in. A similar model from that. So they've got subject matter experts that can come in, whether it's around medical or around one of our brands, to do that work as well, because they can't do all of it, to your point. But it is someone who's it's the person who's probably most deep in understanding the customer, so that they can then guide those other colleagues that are their partners into, how are we going to do this with this customer.